Hey there, broken salespeople. Welcome to the workshop. My name is Red Staffstrom, and I am here to help you fix your broken sales skills. So, I want to talk about a piece of advice, a piece of good advice, quite frankly. It's really good advice, and I highly recommend you stick to it. Problem is, it gets taken too far. So, what I'll talk about what the advice is a little bit later, but the advice starts with all the right intentions. It's there to protect your mindset, to protect your mental health. And that is amazingly important in sales. If you do not know how to control your mindset in a sales structure, you're going to have a very difficult time making sales. To tell you a little story, my mother passed away a year ago. Me and her were very close. And even today, it's only been a year and I'm still in the grieving process. Again, vulnerability, like I want you guys to know these kinds of things so you can see where my mind's at. In the last week, I've been doing a lot of consults. And every so often, I hear people say things my mother used to say. Like, those little advice things, or say it in the right tone of voice that makes you reminisce. And when it happens, I usually have the same response. I kind of smirk and like I know my eyes look sad. Like when somebody smiles, how the eyes will crinkle when they're legitimately happy. I smirk, but my eyes are a million miles away, and I know it because it's a video call and I can see myself too. Sometimes, like, I could feel my eyes even water up because I picture exactly how it was when she would say it. I picture her on the green couch in the corner, cigarette in her hand. Now, I know that it's a grief response. My customer doesn't, because it's not like in that call I decide to go into, oh well, I lost my mother a year ago. That's not the explanation that I go into. I just kind of smirk, tear up a little bit, and then I continue the conversation. I know, however, that can be a warning sign for them. If they are paying close attention, that micro expression of a smirk and watered up eyes could be read as guilt, that I'm doing something not right. That micro expression could trigger an adrenal response. What do I mean by an adrenal response? Fight, flight, freeze. Fight, they start an argument. Flight, they leave the deal. Freeze, I have to think about it. Fight, flight, freeze. So maintaining your mindset is super important, and this is a great way in order to do it. This piece of advice is a great way to protect your mindset. So, what is the advice? You need to cut toxic people out of your life. Yes, you're not going to get me to argue on this. Yes, you have to cut toxic people out of your life. If they are a full blown detriment, if they insult you, if they deride you, if they gaslight and lie, get rid of them. It doesn't matter if it's your own parents, get rid of them. I'm not saying it's simple. I know it's not easy. Those are two different things. Get them out of your life at all costs, because otherwise they are going to drag you down. Get toxic people out of your life. So, why am I talking about this? If I agree with the advice, why am I bringing it up? Why am I blaming it for some of the things that are going on in the world right now? There's many of us, and myself included at times, I'm not immune to it, that rule people as toxic when they aren't. I'm recording this on November 3rd, election day in the US. Trump Biden, and I'm releasing it on Thursday on purpose. I don't want everybody to know, like, this is not a political conversation. I don't expect to swing any votes on this. But I do want to talk about it. Toxic people do toxic things. I know, shocker. Having a differing opinion, a dissenting opinion, having a dissenting opinion is not toxic. It's just a dissenting opinion. But many of us have started edging people out of our lives who have dissenting opinions, especially in regards to politics. You see that a lot, like all these Thanksgiving things. How are you going to talk to your uncle who's a Trump supporter? How are you going to talk to your millennial kids who want socialism? You talk to them. You talk to them like you care. That's how you do it. Because regardless of that person's political beliefs, there's a human being in there and they deserve to be listened to. They don't need to be obeyed, but they deserve a ear. They deserve to be listened to. Now, if they have toxic ideas, such as white supremacy, for instance, no, they don't deserve to be. That's a toxic person. That's a big difference compared to, well, yeah, trickle down economics, compared to socialism, compared to capitalism. Socialism, no idea as big as capitalism or as big as socialism can be all bad. If they has that many supporters, that many people believe it's a viable option, you deserve to give it an ear. You deserve to hear it out. You don't have to agree with it, but you do have to understand it. I see a lot of people who don't understand what socialism is. And I'm not going to get into that diatribe right now, but it's not what most people say. I saw somebody explain socialism, Facebook is socialist, just as a side note, that everybody's the same. There's a bunch of regulation, and all the money goes to one guy. No, that's capitalism. That's fascist capitalism. That's if all the money is going to one person as opposed to all the people, that's capitalism. um, and I'm not saying that in support of socialism. I'm just saying they're different definitions. It's just a misnomer. I'll get off that tirade now, though. Dissenting opinions are not toxic. You should have people who disagree with you because otherwise you can't grow. A big part of why I started this channel is because I started challenging all the ideas that were out there, all the mainstays. Always be closing, overturn objectives, overturn objections, I should say. Dress for success, suit and tie, closing statements. You need to have at least 8 closing statements. You should have a closing statement on every buying signal. Be an alpha. These are ideas that I've challenged, and I'm better for it. Hopefully, you are as well. But if I marked every dissenting opinion as toxic, I wouldn't be where I am today. I would be stuck in my rut the same way I was. I would be having the same breakdowns that I did in 2015 because I was unwilling to challenge and change what I believed in. And it wouldn't have happened if I did not invite some people into my life who dissented, who argued against me and argued against the ideas that I had. Some of these were real people, some of them were in books, but I listened either way. And if you are unwilling or unable to listen and assume that they are coming from a positive place, if you cannot assume that they want something similar, at least to what you want, they want what's best for everybody. If you cannot assume that, you won't last long in sales. And I know because I had that issue too. If you cannot listen, if you cannot adjust, and I'm not saying you need to change, but you do need to understand. You need to understand where they're coming from. Make sure that you do cut toxic people out of your life, but don't cut everybody out of your life who disagrees with you. That's a very lonely existence. Even me and my wife disagree on some things. It's okay. Make sure that you change and understand what is toxic and what is just disagreement. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "Great minds talk about ideas, small minds talk about people." I'm paraphrasing a little bit. If the dissension comes around individuals, that's not talking about the right way. Make sure that you talk about ideas and actual ideas, not cartoonized ideas. similar to what you see with socialism now. Most things people call socialism isn't socialism. It's either communism or anarchy, depending on where in the left end of the spectrum it is. There's a lot of different areas in there, and these isms don't do us any good. Understand the definitions, take the time, read. For God's sakes, read everything you can get your hands on. People who you may disagree with you. It's tough for me to take you seriously deriding communism if you haven't read Karl Marx. It's tough for me to take you seriously deriding capitalism if you haven't read Adam Smith. You need to know what you're yelling at. Otherwise, you're just a madman. Otherwise, you're coming from it from a place of ignorance. And that happens on both sides. Echo chambers are going to happen, and it's okay. When I listen to Tucker Carlson, I expect Tucker Carlson's opinions. When I listen to Trevor Noah, I expect Trevor Noah's opinions. These are going to be echo chambers because one person doesn't usually hold two dichotomous opinions. The idea is to challenge what you believe. Put it through the ringer. I don't know who said it. If you do know, feel free to email me. I'd love to hear it. When being alone, every man is stalwart. Upon entry of a second person, hypocrisy begins. Everybody thinks that they have the world figured out until they're challenged. Challenge your opinions. Don't have toxic people, but have people who question you, who make you second guess yourself. Make the decision and go forward with what you believe, but don't just believe it blindly. Make sure it holds up. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. It's a little bit different than what I usually do, but I want to make sure that we're listening to one another, especially as we've never been more divided, especially in the US. It's not about left and right. For many of us, it's about authoritarian versus anti authoritarian. That's the problem. That's not the conversation that really happens, but this is probably about as much as political as I ever plan to get. I'm doing it because I saw a truck this weekend and it really frustrated me. They had the Nazi SS bolts, the symbol of the Nazi secret police under Himmler. I can't pronounce the name, the Stufwaffe or something along those lines. That's toxic. If you are unwilling to listen to somebody because of the color of their skin, that is toxic. Anybody can have opinion. Intelligence comes from all of us, emotional intelligence especially. Listen to everybody. Give them the benefit of the doubt that they are coming from a good place and they don't want to destroy America. Just listen. So I hope this helps. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Please follow me on all the social media channels. You could go to brokensalespeople.com/connect. You can find me on my Instagram, my YouTube, all the others right there. brokensalespeople.com/connect. Until next time, please go out there and go fix yourself.